Hello and welcome to Jeff's Pianist Academy. In today's lesson we are going to talk about the Waltz in A minor by Chopin. And to be exact, our plan would be the jumps in the left hand, the passage in the right hand, the support of the melodic line in the right hand. We will be also speaking about the pedaling and the way how to make this piece sound even more romantic. And by the way, I will also reveal the true story about this waltz, so please stay tuned and watch this video until the end. So let's start! As you know, a waltz is a dance, but Chopin waltz was never meant for dancing. This is really a concert piece to listen and to enjoy. I live and work in Vienna, and for a lot of years I was accompanying a famous men choir, and it's famous because a lot of really important composers like Bruckner, Schubert, Strauss were composing and dedicated pieces for this choir. And one of these compositions was the famous waltz by Johann Strauss on the Blue Danube. And a lot of years I had to play this waltz like this. It is said that Viennese waltz is 1, 2 and perhaps 3. The way we perform 1, 2, 3 in the left hand by Chopin is different than Strauss waltz. So we have to play it strict in time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When you start to work on this piece, you have to know where your hand will be landing after this jump. So first we have to be sure we know exactly what to play in the chords. So our first goal will be to play only the chords, like this. If you just started to work on this composition, please take a slower tempo. Take your time, it's important. And then the next step would be to play 2 chords, like it's written here. So 1, we omit, we don't play the bass. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1. 1. Please make sure that you have a lot of weight on these chords. The next step would be to play the melody and the chords, like this. The next step would be to play only the bass notes. And then the melody and the bass notes. You see, I leave the bass on this key until the end of the measure, and usually you would need to jump because you need to play the chords. First of all, we want to avoid any stress caused by these jumps. And now eventually we can combine the bass note and the chord. my bass is always louder than the chord. Why? First of all, our pinky is way weaker than the rest of the fingers. And we need to play this bass most of the times using our pinky. You know, the Chopin himself might have recommended you not to use the pinky, but some other finger, because his approach to fingering was this. Everything should be done to improve the quality of the sound and the phrasing. So maybe because the third or the fourth finger is stronger, he would prefer to play this with third finger and then just jump. But let's keep it this way. We play it with pinky, so then it's easier for us to find the chord. So pinky and the chord. So coming back, why the bass notes should be played louder. As you notice, the chord consists of 3 notes, and of course 3 notes will be louder than just one note, and then it's so fast then it sounds like this. Not nice. The bass is louder, the chords are softer. The next step would be to play with pedal. But here I would recommend you to wait until the end of this video, because we will be speaking about different ways of pedaling. So maybe first choose your favorite one and then practice the left hand with the method you liked the most. I often hear this piece played like this. So you can't hear the right hand because of the very heavy and loud chords in the left hand. A very useful exercise is to practice in silent mode. I've already recorded a video about the silent mode, so I will link it up somewhere up here, but I will explain it short. You play the bass, and then when you jump, you don't play the chord, but you pretend to play the chord. You silently press all the keys, and also here. But this is a very good combination if you first play the bass and then you continue playing silently. And you need to find a very slow tempo to practice a silent mode, but it really helps. So please practice in silent mode, it will help you a big deal. And now let's speak about the movement of your hand and arm while doing these jumps. First, you need to get this energy to do the jump. So we get this energy from the bass note. And as you have noticed, I do a different movement here as we practiced before, because our goals are different. In the first exercise, we were trying to find the notes. And the second, I'm trying to have more flow in the accompaniment. You might need even several days until you feel comfortable to go on the next level with your left hand. So first of all, you need to find these chords and so on. And after a while, after practicing this for a couple of times and maybe days, we need to give more flow the left hand. And then I would recommend you, when you play the bass, you go down. When you play the chords, you go up. So the chords will sound lighter and softer. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. If you still need more time with your left hand, you can also practice this way. This is the same method. We need to get rid of the stress. So first of all, we are 100% sure what we're gonna play. So I have it under my fingers, and then you play it. I have this under my fingers, and then I play it. And then, of course, you practice not only the first 4 measures, but also the rest of the composition. And now we will be working on the beautiful passage in the right hand, which may cause a lot of problems, but it's not so difficult. So let's start. First of all, please play this passage as 3 E major chords, like this. As you see, these are our 3 chords. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. Now you can play it as arpeggio, but in the same rhythm, like a triplet. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And of course, you have to play it for several times until you feel comfortable. And if you see the movement of my hand, it is always going in this direction, and the fingers follow the hand. So my hand is moving. I don't want you to play it like this. And then you have to jump. This also causes a lot of stress and it's very unpractical. So the hand is moving to the right and the fingers are coming along. The next step would be to speak the correct rhythm. And this would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. We leave out the punctuated rhythm first. So we leave out this part. We just play or just speak for now. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And now we play it and speak it together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Let's do it one more time. Then we need to practice the end of this passage. Now we practice this. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we need to combine it together. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Believe me, it's a very helpful advice, but you need time. And I would recommend you to first practice only the chords for maybe 5 minutes. Alternating it with practicing the left hand. And so on. So please do it in steps. Then when you feel comfortable playing these 3 chords, you play the arpeggios. By the way, when you play the chords, it's better to play it with 1, 2, 3 with the same fingering you will be using while playing arpeggios afterwards. And now the most difficult part. We need to speak how to support the melodic line and how to play this composition musically. So let's start with the beginning. So it's here. As you see in the score, we have a slur from the pickup to the first measure. And then the slur is finished and we have a C just by its own. I think it's important to separate this C and then we continue with the second measure, again with a slur. And then we have a long slur for all 6 of the notes. This beautiful ornament, these 2 small notes, you have to play before the beat, like it's written. But because Chopin liked his ornaments to be performed the Baroque way, I think both ways would be fine when you play it on the beat and before the beat. You know, there are some themes in music like pedaling in Baroque music or ornaments by Chopin where a lot of pianists have some battles and they discuss what is the correct way to perform this. So as I told you, I think both ways would be okay in this case because for some compositions Chopin preferred the Baroque way, and for others when it's better melodically he would do it the regular way for the Romantic era. And we have also a video on ornaments, so if you want you can watch this video. I will link it up here. Before starting to work on a certain composition, you have to get an overview over the entire piece. And in this waltz, it's interesting to see that a lot of phrases start similar and the ending is different. So I'm playing it from the very beginning. So the measures 1 and 2 are similar or the same with measures 5 and 6. And the beginning of this passage is also similar, but the ending is different and it leads us to C major. The first phrase consists of 8 measures. So you can first play the right hand alone and try to make some crescendos, even they're not written here, so you understand better the way the melody develops. Can we release here, for example? At the beginning we can make a little crescendo towards the F. Pa 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 pa. Continue. Pa 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 pa. Then this is getting less, and then in measure 5 we start again. We already know this melody, and we know this too. And then we release. The 8 measures end in C major. Then we start again. like we know already. This we know as well, but now it continues differently. We start with a C, and the ending is different. This needs more energy because soon we will continue in E major, and it helps us to lead this energy towards this new passage. So this new phrase try not to do diminuendo, because then you will lose the energy. So you can pa 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 pa, and then da 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 dum pa ra 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 rum pa ra 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 rum. We're going down. We hear this motive 3 times, so each of these motives can be played less loud. So and then the melody goes up again, and we need more energy. But this is not the rule. It is just one way of the interpretation. It's important that you find out what you would like to show your audience, what you would like to create with this music. The worst thing possible is if you play everything equal like this. Then this is just super boring. And for this passage here, please try this fingering. 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3. Believe me, this is really the best. Let's take a look at the measure 25. We know this motive already. But then you have to enjoy this new tonality. The tonality A minor, and especially the beginning of this composition, sounds somehow melancholic. But still hopeful. Because we often hear this shimmering of C major, and then it's A minor again. And major. And here we have a beautiful passage in major. Play the right hand alone and exaggerate everything. So if you're going up and you want to support the melodic line, make a little crescendo. If you want to release here, then make a little diminuendo. Then again, more, and we release. Then we start again. And then we continue. Here I'm almost playing forte. Please allow yourself to use the full dynamic, especially later on when you will be combining the right and the left hand and you really need to care about the balance. It's important that your right hand has a beautiful full solo sound, because the right hand is a soloist and the left hand is accompaniment. If here is your right hand, here should be your left hand in the dynamic, in the proportion. Very often the left hand is on the same level as the right hand and the chords are interrupting the melody. No, please no. This is solo, this is accompaniment. Solo, accompaniment. Please take your time and be patient while practicing this. It really needs time. And before I will reveal to you how to make this waltz sound even more romantic, I wanted to share the quick story about how this waltz was composed and published. This waltz was most likely written between 1847 and 1849 and was published only 1869 after composer's death. But this was not the main problem of this story. The problem was that it was attributed to the Charlotte de Rothschild, and it was published among her pieces. And she, like her father, loved art and collected art, and she was also talented herself. And I have no idea, and I could find no information how Waltz in A minor and the Nocturne in C minor by Frédéric Chopin landed in 4 pieces for piano written by Charlotte de Rothschild. And only 95 years later, these pieces were attributed correctly to Frédéric Chopin. So, and now let's speak about the pedal. The most important thing is that it shouldn't sound blurry. So we have to have just one harmony on the pedal and don't mix it. By a blurry sound, I mean something like this. So you press, this is if you press the pedal, so you see, if you're not renewing the pedal, if you're just letting your foot on the pedal, everything comes on this one sound and it doesn't sound nice. And I didn't even play the right hand, it was just the left hand. It was already awful enough. Let's listen how it would sound if we play both hands on one pedal. Sorry for showing you this extreme. I'm sure you will never play it this way, but a lot of times the student will mix even 2 measures together and this sounds not nice as well. If we played without any pedal, it would not sound like a romantic music. Let's hear this. It is too dry. So 3 ways I would recommend you for this waltz would be: you press the pedal down on the first note and lift it up on the second. So you release the pedal on the second. So 1, 2, 3. Then again you press the pedal. 1. You press the pedal. You release it, you press the pedal, you release it. It will sound like this. Maybe it's a little bit dry, but this separated note in the right hand would prove this way to pedalize, because then we can clearly hear this note. So now the second way to pedalize, we press the pedal on the first and release it on the third. So it will be like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You have to practice it several times, of course. With the right hand, it would sound like this. The third version would be pressing the pedal on the first beat and releasing and pressing it again in the next measure. Like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. With the right hand, it would sound like this. So let's try it again. You press the pedal on the first 1, 2, 3. You are still on the pedal. You release it and press it again. You continue playing. You wait until you play this G. You release the pedal, you press it down again, and you continue playing again. And of course, there is also an option to alterate these ways of pedaling depending on where you are. For example, you can start with less pedal, so you pedalize on the first beat and release the pedal on the second. And when you play this part here in E major, you could do it this way and prolong the pedal. Wait, sorry, now you can see it better. Let's try. We have this slur here. And these two measures kind of belong together. But of course we cannot play the same pedal for the two measures because the harmonies are different. It's a E major and then A minor. But still you can do this. You press, you release, you press, release, instead of playing it like this. Both ways are totally fine. This passage here sounds nicer with the pedal, so I would definitely leave the pedal for the entire measure and release it only on the C, before the C. If you follow all of my advices, this waltz will sound this. Instead of this. Unfortunately, you can often hear this version. So let's sum up everything we were talking about. First of all, start practicing with the left hand. Be careful that you take enough time to avoid any stress. You need to know exactly, your fingers need to know exactly what to play. The chords, the jumps between the bass and the chord, and the practicing in silent mode, so your chords are not overly loud. Then please take time to practice this passage. First in chords, then in arpeggios, but in same rhythm, and then with the correct rhythm. And pay attention on the movement of your hand. And the third thing is we really care and support the melodic line. We play the right hand alone. We try to emphasize all the crescendos. We try to understand where the end of the phrase is. We try to notice the different ways for the melody to come to the end, because we have different versions of the endings. Then we care about the balance between the right and the left hand. And then we add the pedal, and please practice the pedal with the left hand. It's always efficient to combine two tasks. So in this case, you will be practicing the pedaling and the left hand. Please leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed this video. And did you know that we have some great advanced lessons on our website? Please check it, because some of the lessons are even completely free, and I'm sure you will like it. Thank you very much for watching this video, and see you next time.